All right, guys. So this is a really, really dark story that I'm about to share with you. So we have multiple water crises going on at the same time. Now, we talked about the massive heat wave in China where factories have to close as a result of it. There's horrendous flooding in Pakistan where over 1,000 people have died. It's almost like some significant chunk of the country is just underwater. It's terrible. Well, now we get this happening in the U.S. So this is about Jackson, Mississippi. This is Mississippi Today. They say Jackson water system is failing. City will be with no or little drinking water indefinitely. State Health Officer Dr. Daniel Edney urged Jackson residents to conserve their water resources and to boil their water for 3 minutes before using it to drink, brush teeth, or cook. So I'm about to give you some of the specifics. Their whole water system just failed. Now, it's not because they ran out of water. It's because the critical infrastructure is damaged. And damaged to the point where it broke, basically. The drinking water system in Jackson, Mississippi's largest city and home to more than 160,000 residents, is failing. State officials announced on Monday. Thousands of Jackson residents already have no or little water pressure, and officials cannot say when adequate, reliable service will be restored. The city's water system has been plagued with problems for years, including tens of thousands of residents losing water between 1 and 3 weeks during a 2021 winter storm. At a press conference Monday night, Governor Tate Reeves said the city's largest water treatment plants may be completely down. Quote, the O.B. Curtis plant is not operating anywhere near full capacity. Reeves said, we may find out tomorrow it's not operating at all. We'll have better visibility on that when we get in there tomorrow. Reeves announced he would sign an emergency declaration for the capital city's water system and create an incident command center to distribute water to the city's residents beginning Tuesday morning. Guys, this is the biggest city in Mississippi. This is the capital city, and this is what's happening. Until it's fixed, it means we do not have reliable running water at scale, Reeves said. It means the city cannot produce enough water to fight fires, to reliably flush toilets, and to meet other critical needs. When Reeves announced the system was failing Monday at 7 p.m., Jackson leaders, including Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba, had not addressed the public about the failure of the water system. Lumumba did declare a water system emergency Monday around 6 p.m., saying in a statement, the water shortage is likely to last the next couple of days. Lumumba was not invited by Reeves to attend the Monday evening press conference. While Reeves said he had not spoken directly with the mayor, he did say the city leader had agreed to work with state officials to address the problem. Employees with the Mississippi State Department of Health will be working Tuesday with city operators to try to get the plant back online. Quote, the operators of the O.B. Curtis facility have been heroic, just not enough of them, Reeves said, adding the city employees will be crucial to get the plant running again. State Health Officer Dr. Daniel Edney urged Jackson residents to, quote, husband their water resources and to boil their water for 3 minutes before using it to drink, brush teeth, or cook. Reeves revealed that he became aware of the possibility that the O.B. Curtis could fail completely on Friday. State health officials told him that the city was relying on backup pumps because the main pump had been damaged severely around the time the current boil water notice went into place on July 29th. We were told on Friday that there was no way to predict exactly when, but that it was a near certainty that Jackson would begin to fail to produce running water sometime in the next several weeks or months if something didn't materially improve. We began preparing for a scenario where Jackson would be without running water for an extended period. The governor said his team began coming up with a water distribution plan over the weekend. All of this was with the prayer that we would have more time before their system ran to failure, Reeves said. Unfortunately, that failure appears to have begun today. On Tuesday, an incident command center will be set up and state employees will go into the O.B. Curtis treatment plant to try to restore it to full operation. The plant has been operating at partial capacity for a number of days, Reeves said. For more than a month, the city has been under a state health department issue boil water notice. But on Monday, because the problems with the plant, much of Jackson lost water pressure. Because of the problems with the plant, much of Jackson lost water pressure. Reeves said the first goal is to restore water quantity so that people can flush toilets and take a shower, and then to restore quality to end the boil water notice. As a short-term plan, Reeves said the state will cash flow emergency improvements, maintenance, and repairs, which will include contracting operators to assist at the treatment plant. He said Mayor Lumumba agreed to a plan where the city would be responsible for half the cost of the operation. So, look, they go on here to explain that they really don't know how long the water is going to be off for. They really don't. They don't know how long people are going to be affected by this. And there's a fact that stuck out to me, which is really astonishing, which is Build Back Better had billions and billions of dollars going towards updating water treatment. And I think in the IRA, the final version of the IRA, that funding was cut in half. The other thing is, we've known for a while that there was an issue here with the water in Jackson, Mississippi, and officials didn't really do anything until it failed. And then, they scramble and, oh my God, how do we get water to people and what are we going to do? And, now it has failed and it's like, okay, what's our plan? And it always seems like we're behind the eight ball. Again, this is the United States of America. We're supposed to be the richest country in the world, one of the most developed, if not the most developed. And this is what's going on. This is what's happening. A city of 160,000 people is just screwed and without water indefinitely for the near future until people scramble to try to figure this shit out. I mean, I get the sense that we don't just do shit anymore. Like if there was that issue all the way back in 2021, they didn't just, let's fix this, let's do something, let's tackle it right now. It was always like, let's add layers of bureaucracy, let's have a couple meetings, let's delegate this out to this person and that out to that person, and let's have a long timeline wherein they can fulfill their obligations, and let's have all these layers of red tape, and let's go up the chain of command even more and make the responsibility diffuse. So clearly that doesn't work. And so now we're faced with a situation where the water is failing in the capital city of Mississippi, and we don't know how long it's going to be off for. But, it seems like as you read the story, you think, okay, if the water pump failed, can you just get a new water pump? It seems like in theory it should be something that you could just do relatively quickly. But obviously people drag their feet, and now here we are, and now they don't even know how long until they fix it. So, and compare this again, Flint water crisis. We all remember the Flint water crisis. We all know in order to save some money, they used the wrong pipes. It ended up poisoning the water. And, for years and years and years, even to this day, you basically have not clean drinking water in Flint, Michigan. Supposed to be the richest country in the world, supposed to be developed. And even with the infrastructure bill that passed, I mean, again, we're not even talking about the bare minimum just to update our infrastructure. Apparently, that number was about $5.4 million just to update our infrastructure. What do we end up getting? Like a little over $1 trillion in like little piecemeal repairs here and there with the bipartisan infrastructure bill? Nowhere near enough. What we need is leadership to the point where the argument is, I don't even want to just update our infrastructure, which is like $5.4 trillion. I want to have the number one infrastructure in the world by far. Let's completely fix our highways. Let's completely redo our airports. Let's completely overhaul our water treatment. Let's add high-speed rail. Let's make the United States the envy of the world when it comes to infrastructure. I mean, I think that's a unifying message where, if a candidate ran on that, you can get not just Democrats to vote for you, but even independents and even some Republicans. So it's infuriating what happened here. And, my heart goes out to everybody over there. Now, I still have more for you, though, and this is arguably even more scary. So this is in ProPublica. They say, as Colorado River dries, the U.S. teeters on the brink of larger water crisis. The mega drought gripping the western states is only part of the problem. Alternative sources of water are also imperiled, and the nation's food along with it. So this is something that could impact the entire country if it really comes to fruition like it might. The western United States is famously in the grips of its worst mega drought in a millennium. The Colorado River, which supplies water to more than 40 million Americans and supports food production for the rest of the country, is in imminent peril. The levels in the nation's largest freshwater reservoir, Lake Mead, behind the Hoover Dam and a fulcrum of the Colorado River Basin, have dropped to around 25% capacity. 25% capacity. Is that not a hair on fire moment? Is that not a holy shit, be afraid kind of moment? Wow. Do you know how important this source of water is for the entire western United States? And like they said, even for food, which affects the entire United States? The Bureau of Reclamation, which governs Lake Mead and Powell and water distribution for the southern end of the river, has issued an ultimatum. The 7 states that draw from the Colorado River must find ways to cut their consumption by as much as 40%, or the federal government will do it for them. Last week, those states failed to agree on new conservation measures by deadline. Meanwhile, next door, California, which draws from the Colorado, faces its own additional crisis, with snowpack and water levels in both its reservoirs and aquifers all experiencing a steady, historic, and climate-driven decline. It's a national emergency, but not a surprise, as scientists and leaders have been warning for a generation that warming plus overuse of water in a fast-growing West would lead to those states to run out. Wow. That is fucking terrifying. So the Colorado River is drying up. If that dries up, I genuinely don't know what happens next. I mean, to me, that sounds like game, set, match on the entire western United States. That sounds like a crisis the likes of which we have never experienced. Ever. What happens when millions of Americans don't have water? What happens in a situation like that? What happens when food prices quadruple because the crop yield is so messed up because that water was used to, water those crops? So now there's giant swaths of crops that we use for food that are no longer viable at all. What happens? This is what we're talking about. Whenever people talk about climate change, again, I think the first thing that pops to most people's minds is sea level rise, which is a serious issue. I don't want to, belittle that. But I always felt like it was a failure of imagination for people to get beyond that thought into, well, what happens if there's wars over water? What happens if we run out of water? What happens if food prices triple, quadruple because we ran out of water, the crop is destroyed? What do? What are you talking about? Are you talking about mass starvation? Are you talking about famine? Are you talking about a colossal spike in crime associated with degradation and desperation and extreme poverty? What are we talking about here? So, man, it's all coming together, and we are nowhere near prepared enough. And then you have Republicans who bitch and moan even about plans. What was the California plan that just came out? We're going to get rid of all gas cars by 2030 or 2035 or something like that. And you have Republicans acting like, this is extreme and this is crazy. Are you fucking kidding me? We have the technology now to get off of gas cars sooner. And we should. Now, of course, look, most of the emissions are from corporations and not from individuals, but we should do anything and everything we can to transition to, a green economy so that we don't have to continue destroying the environment, making climate change worse and leading to outcomes like this. So, what a terrifying story, man. And no, this isn't getting nearly enough coverage. Not even close. So spread it around as much as you can because people need to know this. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.